Hi guys.
Good morning.
Welcome. Yeah. It's a morning, afternoon somewhere. It is Stacy and Katie with 211 Big Bend. How are you doing today?
Fabulous.
Awesome.
And yourself?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. We are coming live. It is October, you guys. Crazy. September kind of flew. Not really.
Yeah.
Oh well. We are talking about domestic violence this month. October is awareness for a lot of things. We have breast cancer, domestic violence, and that is what we're going to be focusing on today. Recognizing if you're perhaps a victim and different ways you can reach out to places in our community. But first, we kind of just want to give you guys a quick update on this hurricane, or I think it's a tropical depression right now.
Storm,
Yeah, called Nate. I just got an update. Where'd that go?
Shout out to Jim in our I&R department.
Yes.
Keeping us up to date all the time.
Good point. Jim is a rock star on this kind of stuff. It's a westerly track right now.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, for now. We don't know. But keep your eyes on National Hurricane Center is a good resource for you guys to kind of keep up to date if that's what you're interested in. And I think this area, they're going to be seeing the effects mainly Sunday morning. It's kind of what they're saying, and nothing more than some showers, maybe some tornado watches, storm surge possible. But again, keep your eyes, and it's early still.
Yeah, we learned with Irma that cone can shift all over the place.
Right.
In a matter of 24 hours, so.
Exactly. So just keep your eyeballs on it. All right, so Katie, she is our, what do you do here?
Hotline supervisor and training coordinator.
Right, and she answers the calls a lot. She's actually answered some calls on domestic violence, so we want to pick her brain a little bit and kind of see if we can't give you guys watching out there some added value. We want to keep this conversation open, so if you have any questions while you're listening, please put them in the comments below. We'll put some links and numbers out there for you guys. So let's just break it down to the basics. What is domestic violence?
So domestic violence is a pattern of assaultive or corrosive behaviors that one former or current intimate partner uses against the other. It's usually a force of control that they exert on the other person and can come in many forms.
Okay, so coming in many forms, what maybe are some characteristics of somebody who batters and why?
Well, there's no discrimination across like socioeconomic status. It can happen to anyone. But batterers, some characteristics of their personalities, they could be insecure, emotionally dependent, excessively jealous, really interested in where you're going, what you're doing, who you're with, keeping tabs on their partners, manipulative, emotionally, but those are just a few different characteristics, general ones. It really could be anyone.
A lot of that seems to tie back to that controlling factor, where they just want to have complete control over their partner. Okay, and so you had mentioned there's different forms of abuse, and I believe we had spoken earlier about 4 specific ones in general. Can we go into detail on those?
Sure. So usually when people think of domestic violence, they think of the physical type of abuse, and that definitely is a big part of domestic violence. Using weapons or their hands on people to hurt them, and it's one of the most frightening types because, you know, you're afraid for your safety. Sure. So definitely physical abuse is one of the more common ones that people know about. Another one, which is less spoken about, would be sexual abuse, forcing intimacy on their partner, forcing them to be intimate with other partners. It's less talked about because there's some shame and humiliation and stigma along with that, but that is definitely another type that can be involved with domestic violence.
Jeez.
A third one that can be one of the most damaging would be emotional abuse.
Right.
Putting someone down constantly can leave victims with really low self-esteem and often feeling like it's their fault for why the abuse is occurring. And these different types, there can be more than one involved in one situation. Usually emotional abuse is almost always involved in some aspect in domestic violence situations.
And you had made the comment that a lot of the abusees, is that even a word?
Abusers?
The people, like the victims.
Okay.
Feel like it's their fault, but it's
Yes.
absolutely
not their fault.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Just wanted to confirm it.
Mm-hmm.
So we touched on physical abuse, sexual abuse, and emotional abuse. What was that other one?
Another one would be financial abuse. This is one that can make it feel really difficult to leave a situation when this type of abuse is involved in a domestic violence situation. Keeping tabs on the spending, not allowing their partner access to credit cards, debit cards, giving them an allowance, not allowing them any money at all. That can be really difficult for someone.
Sure.
And disempowering for sure.
So if you guys are just joining us, I am sitting with Katie and we're talking about different forms of domestic abuse. Not that it's any single one, it could be a mixture of them. And kind of just recognizing maybe something, is triggering that activity, so you guys just be aware of that. So we've kind of gone over the forms. What are some red flags that people could be watching out for when it comes to domestic violence?
Sure. So usually there's a pattern that occurs within a relationship. Some people call it the cycle of abuse, where in the first cycle the tension is building. You can feel like you're walking on eggshells around the abuser. Every small little thing could turn into a big outburst or flying off the handle. And then finally the tension comes to a head and the abuse occurs, whether it's extreme emotional abuse or physical abuse. Right. And then the last stage of the cycle of abuse would be like the honeymoon phase, where the abuser may seem remorseful, apologetic, ashamed, treating you well, the opposite of putting you down as they do. And then finally the honeymoon phase starts to cycle back into the tension phase, and then it all starts over again.
And it just repeats, and this could go on for months, years.
Years, yeah.
Wow. Interesting. What are maybe some other red flags to be watching out for?
So things to watch out for is someone who wants to move too quickly into a really serious or intimate relationship. They want you all to themselves. They don't want you to interact with friends or family. Another way to exert control. Early in the relationship, flattering you constantly and building you up kind of makes it easier for them to then start bringing you down. Takes no responsibility for their actions or way they're treating you. Takes your money or runs up your credit card debt. Has a history of abusing others. Those are just a few. A lot of the flags center around not respecting boundaries.
Okay,
so
that's a good note to make. If you are just joining us, I'm with Katie and we're touching on domestic violence, kind of some red flags to watch out for. And she just touched on a lot of good ones. So we've gone over kind of just what it is, some different forms of abuse and red flags to be aware of. Now, somebody might be watching and saying, whoa, that triggers something for me, or I know somebody that is happening to. What's something or somebody they could reach out to if you recognize this?
Yeah, if you know someone that you think may be in a victim or surviving in a domestic violence situation, we would probably warn against sending text messages or emails, Facebook messages, things that can be easily tracked. A lot of times abusers will have the passwords, they'll be checking the phone, and we don't want to send them into an episode or make it more obvious that other people are catching on.
Absolutely.
So we'd recommend calling a hotline. You can always call 211 And then there's the Refuge House. They're a local domestic violence shelter in town. They also operate a hotline that's 24/7. In addition, and that number is 1-800-500-1119. In addition to providing support and empowerment to survivors, they can also help you come up with a safety plan, specific steps to take to leave the situation or just to be ready for when you decide it's time.
Right, and they can also be found online for anybody. If you know somebody and you want to help them out, you can look into some of the resources. And they just had, I want to say, like a big golf tournament this past weekend to kind of raise some funds. It's a great place. So if you're wanting to donate to help out, they're a great cause to get involved with. Basically, I just wanted to kind of really put this into perspective for people listening, how severe this is and how often it's happening. So we have some numbers for you from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Katie, just this year,
What's
been happening?
475 gun-related fatalities due to domestic violence just this year in 2017.
Wow.
10 million people a year are physically abused due to domestic violence. And hotlines like the Refuge House all over the country, they receive about 20,000 calls a day related to domestic violence.
A day? 20,000 a day?
A day.
That's how severe this is and how often, too often, that it's happening. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for those numbers. It kind of, I think, puts it into perspective. Wow. Okay, so if you are somebody listening and you feel like any of these things are happening to you or you know somebody, please reach out. You can dial 211. We can give you more information on people or places, referrals to reach out to, or that number again for the
Refuge House.
Refuge House.
1-800-500-1119. They're also 24/7.
Okay, great to note. So we want to thank you guys for listening, and thank you, Katie, for this awesome information on domestic violence. You guys, it's October. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. How can you help? Share this video. Share pictures on social media. Get talking, okay? Just be active. Talk about it. Bring it up. Don't shy away from it because it's happening, and we need to stop it.
Yes, definitely.
For sure. We are 211 Big Ben, your region's go-to hotline. With help comes hope. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week for more mental health talk.
Bye.